This is the Digital Trust Podcast. In every episode, we strive to bring support to those of you who serve on the front lines and in the trenches of data and technology. We endeavor to bring understanding to the under-resourced and underappreciated, help remove your stress, and provide relief to your pain. Welcome to the Digital Trust Podcast. Sit down with us as we give you hard-hitting advisory conversations to help you build digital trust with your stakeholders and clients, and actionable takeaways to help you become a digitally trustworthy organization.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Digital Trust Podcast. My name is Christian Redshaw. I am your host today, along with my esteemed co-host and colleague, Zach Eikenberry. Zach, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good as well. A while ago, we had Grady Johnston on from eSentire, and we have him once again back to join us. Grady, welcome to the show today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's awesome. It's awesome to have you. Looking forward to it as well. So I'm thinking we start with a conversation around vendors. I'm curious about what your process was to select vendors. What was your vendor selection criteria?
Oh, it really depends on, well, I guess the core to a lot of the vendors is the communication. You know, it's a lot of times in IT, it's a budget you've been working on, or last minute something's going on, and the speed of response and the speed of, also of how they're connected within my ecosystem. And what I mean by that is also looking at references, accounts, relationships, but also looking at anybody I can talk to directly that can give me an honest opinion. And I'm looking for the vendors, especially, that really work as a team. What I mean by that is they're not just showing up to sell something. They're actually showing up to give me advice or saying, hey, have you looked at this new technology? When I see core QBRs and reports like that, they should be a check-in of how did we do, this is where we're at, and what are you looking at? What do you like to see? And bring in those types of relationships, even if it's outside of what that vendor is doing. I will tell this story, and Cisco will probably call me on this comment, but I remember one time calling Cisco and asking to look at something, and they showed up with 14 people. And I was in the meeting, and I walked in, and I was like, look, when you get to the point where I asked you for something, come get me in my office. You can educate my team. And I left. All right. So I look at that as either side of the table. I'm with a client. The vendor is there to support and give advice, and also go through the process and be able to enable and really, like I said in the previous one, what can benefits help my team out, and then the company as well.
Right. And just as a follow-up question, and that's really great, advise, support, enable, that's the role of the vendor. How do you leverage vendors, leverage your costs for when you're selecting vendors? How do you use vendors basically to your advantage, and maybe even consolidate some tools in the process?
Okay, there's like a couple of ways of doing that. So I hope you guys are happy with this response. One thing is to look at, okay, what are their core tie-ins? Like, for an example, are they on AWS or Microsoft? Can I leverage my spend at Microsoft or AWS to lower cost, or make AWS or Azure give money in the back end to the vendor to help me lower my cost? But also, for an example, I did an event for a data center, or I actually bought a bunch of network equipment, and part of the deal, I worked with the manufacturer first, then I went to my favorite vendor and said, look, I'm going to pass this through to you guys, but I need something out of this, towards my margins or commission. And they're like, well, I can't do that. It's like, okay, then I want you to have a network engineer sitting at my place that you guys are funding. So they funded an an engineer there to support me on the network till my team got their certifications up to par. So there's many things in the ecosystem, especially with vendors, you can leverage where there's benefits them, but also will help you lower your cost, or be able to attach a drag or something that you need strategically within your software. The problem is, a lot of times in IT, we get too transactional mindset in a way. We're fighting that budget. We're fighting to get those numbers closed, but we're not looking again on the business strategy. Okay, if we get this in place, this helps me out, but also this might help out this department here. So we've got to be thinking all the time of what we're buying, how we're going to enable business. It also helps us get our budget. It helps us leverage other things. Like I said before, especially if I enable the development team or infosec team or who you're talking to. So
here's a question for you, because you're also on the vendor side of the house, right? And so
I'm currently, I did that Kool-Aid drink where when I was running as a CISO a company, I brought in the MDR that I'm working for now, and after 14 different RFPs and processes, I selected them, and I did my job too well, and the company got purchased, and I went over there to work for them. So, yep.
Yeah. How do you recommend organizations work with the next generation of tools? Like when a vendor shows up and it's not on their radar, they did not plan budget, they did not plan strategically around adopting a tool, but the tool solves some really big business problems for them.
Well,
and how do you recommend an organization build trust quickly and then lean into that vendor? What are those steps?
Well, first thing I would do with that vendor is immediately let's do a lab. Let's test it out at no, depending on what size the organization. Sometimes certain size, mid-sized enterprises, they have to pay for compliance reasons for proof of concept. So as an IT director or CIO, there's always some funds set aside for these proof of concepts. So I would literally go to this company and go, look, let's put it in here. Let's test it. This is the framework. This is the goal. And this is as far as I'm going to go. But if you're going to want to partner with us, this is where we're going to go. Because I've got to, again, it goes back to, I see a need over here. It's going to solve this. This is how we're going to solve it. So we've got to work through that with the vendor, build the case to take it back internally going, hey, this is what we tested. This is where it fits. And this is how it's going to help us out. And a lot of the vendors will do that. I've been on the other side where I launch products and just like they will partner with companies specifically to help grow those, because at the same time that company is looking for investment, they can say, hey, I'm talking this brand and this brand, and they'll get raised money just because they're working with you. So I'm always about the different buckets of money and how to leverage that. So I would evaluate them, look at the technology, see where they came from, see who's supporting them and where their team came from. But it all will go into a very secure lab where we can test it out, see it. But again, that goes to the limitation of your IT staff is they're really going to be busy. So we got to be very strict and rigid on what we want to see and what needs to be accomplished, because we don't have a lot of time to waste. So I would definitely have it very spelled out. So
that's very, because in the world of AI right now, right, there is the speed of innovation, maybe reckless for most security people. It's maybe going too fast, too much, and breaking too many things. And I'm curious how enterprises deal with vendors who knock on their door and offer these tools that are just, evolving every day.
Yeah, and it depends on where they come at, and it depends on the organization. I mean, most of them, like me, when I would come in as an IT director, I would create a little mini lab. I would have internally at the IT department, we would totally lock it down. So for any kind of vendor that was coming in or new technology, it would have to go into that lab to be tested. Like we'd have a solid environment, a copy of where our environment is, specifically to test it out. Because some of the organizations I worked with were almost retail in manner, handheld devices, POS, and other stuff. So you got to make sure what's coming into the environment is fully locked down. You can watch, what is it doing? Is it calling out? Is this platform built on a open source platform that wants to call China? You don't know, especially a lot of this technology, because I've seen a lot of scary stories. I could tell with a lot of technology that's still around came from this here. So you really need to have very much a lab to be able to bring it in, have them deploy it, have them sit there and watch it, and then you can monitor your security tools. Not to mention, it's a great way of testing your security team and security products, and having a very secure, open, separate from your network, but it's a way to also test it out. So,
love that approach, Grady. We have time for one or two more really quick questions here before we land the plane on the aircraft carrier. And the first one is, do you have any leave behinds for the audience, are there any resources that you could recommend, whether it's within eSentire or something else that you like to follow? Maybe a website,
No.
YouTube page, anything.
I'll definitely, the eSentire, we're actually launching a demo where you can log in and deploy in an environment, a security solution to be able to monitor stuff. So I definitely recommend checking that out. Also, I mean, depending on where you're located, I'm a strong believer in businesses should be partnering with local colleges and stuff like that, especially like cyber ranges and stuff like that, because it allows you to get a hold of that lab that you might not be able to build, and leverage it through the college. And they have kids, students there that will actually glad to do it, and also allows you to recruit some of those people there as well. So every organization I've been part of, when I come in, I immediately partner with a university. So it helps me get into stuff that I don't have staff for, or great interns that know what we're doing and that we can bring in, and they can get promoted through the organization as it expands.
Right. That's a win-win for both the organization and the student, for sure. Last question for you, Grady. Is there somebody that you can think of right now in your mind, your number one choice to recommend as a guest for the Digital Trust podcast? Who is somebody that you might say they'd be perfect and that you might even have looked up to in your career?
Oh, I have quite a few. I've been lucky. I've one by default, my good friend Chris Cope. He is the deputy CISO at New York Life, and then my friend Ken Foster, a great speaker, and he has a much longer beard than I have too, so he's entertaining. So those two people that by default, I just I have a lot of experience because I just been lucky, meet great people, build the relationships, and it's great. So
sounds good. Definitely connect with them.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're going to land the plane here, Grady. Thank you so much for joining us once again. And we really appreciate your insights here, your wisdom, sharing your wisdom with us. And Zach and I will be right back to wrap things up.
Christian, that was Grady.
One more from Grady.
One more from Grady. All right. Tell me your hot takes. What did you take away from that conversation?
Well, I thought the way he frames the role, the purpose of a vendor is advise, support, enable. I think that's a good way to leverage a vendor for not just their technology and their capabilities, but also the education piece and that expertise piece that they can offer. I think that's powerful. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I think so. A number of security teams think like their job is to maximize, negotiate, fight with their vendors,
right?
Get something out of their vendors. Their vendors, it's a transaction that their vendors are on the other side of the table, and their job is to, if they didn't have to work with that vendor, they wouldn't. Right. And frankly, most security teams have too many tools, too many platforms anyway that they have to navigate. Why would they want to work with another vendor or learn another expertise? And
this is a contrarian take, isn't it?
The idea that you can invite the vendors in and they are actually a relief valve for your team, and that the vendor community is one that you can trust over time. He talked a little bit about how you build that trust, but I think emerging IT leaders right now, I've personally experienced a number of them who are antagonistic towards vendors, and that doesn't serve you in the long run.
Counterproductive.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that insight from Grady. And by the way, he's probably one of the few folks that has ever mentioned a QBR, quarterly business review, as though he actually read one. And I think that's amazing for any CISO or anybody in this space to actually read a quarterly business review.
100%. All right, take us home. Sign us off.
Yes, that was Grady, and thank you so much for another awesome episode here at the Digital Trust Podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for joining us today on the Digital Trust Podcast. If you found this conversation helpful, please share it with someone you care about. And if you'd like to receive our monthly newsletter, please click the link in the description to subscribe. And to put your mind at ease, our newsletter will include episode summaries with key points and actionable takeaways, plus a heads up on the upcoming episode guests. Rest assured, it won't be a spammy sales message, and we will never sell or share your information. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.